did. I
And,
did. My dad had season tickets. Ran the first baseline there, and massive Tribe fan. Still am. I grew up a massive Jim Thome fan. Jim Thome was my hero, and he threw me a ball a couple times because I was right there, first base, and then I got to play with the guy. He was a teammate, so that was wild. That was a trip.
you got to have to tell me more about that later in the podcast because I want to hear about that.
For
I
sure.
had former Indians announcer and current Rockies announcer Jack Corrigan on the show last week, and
Okay.
Jack talked a lot about that whole era, of course, and he talked about Jim Thome. He's still close with Jim and Sandy Alomar and a lot of the other guys, Tom Hamilton, of course. So, we talked about that lineup, Adam, and people listening who aren't from Cleveland. I've never seen a lineup quite like that. And being a major league pitcher like you were, when you look back at that lineup, and I know there's a lot of controversy with the steroids and all that, but even without all that, the talent in that lineup, I told Jack, Lofton, Vizquel, Baerga, Bell, Murray, Thome, Ramirez, Serrano, Alomar. How do you, as a pitcher, how would you have approached that lineup?
Hopefully they get themselves out.
You had Manny batting seventh. That's just insanity.
Yeah, I have one. I pitched to Jim Thome one time in a spring training game when he was with Philly, and I struck him out. And I think he let me. I think he did it. I'm like, there's no way I could strike this guy out. But yeah, those lineups. Geez, how do you pitch that up and down the lineup? There's no time off. Everyone on that can hurt you. But yeah, those were fun days. We just set the record for most fan attendance, and especially how big that stadium is. That's impressive.
People forget about that back in those days because there was no Browns then for the 3 years, and the Cavs weren't as good. It was before LeBron, of course. So
right.
the Indians, it was everything in Cleveland was the Indians at that point, and the team that they had, the new stadium, et cetera. And I had my dad had season tickets as well, Adam. We were on the third base side, 12 rows back, and I'll never forget being at the game. I think it was '95 when Thome actually was at third base at that point before he switched to first, and he caught the ball to when we first clinched the playoffs. It was against Cal Ripken and the Orioles right after Cal broke the record for most consecutive games played. And I'll never forget how the pandemonium, and I was 12 years old. I didn't really understand. I didn't fully get how big it was. And I look back now, I'm like, they hadn't made the playoffs in 42 years. That's just, it's just incredible. So our dads are the guys that really went through a lot of that struggle with the Indians, through the 60s all the way through the 90s. And I was happy for those guys to get, to finally get there. And of course we had an incredible run, but we never won it. And that's what Jack Corrigan was saying. He's like, that team did everything except for win it. They would have won it. That would have complete that whole era, but it was the only thing that they were missing because they had everything else. But, looking back on it, what is your favorite memories of going to the games?
I just talking with my dad just about the game and watching it. I was in such awe of these guys and how good they were. And I wanted to be that. And, I have my parents kept old, what do you want to be when you grow up type of thing from school. And I put, Major League Baseball player, and they were like, no, write something realistic.